We all hope to never get injured, but sometimes it happens. Maybe you didn't give enough weight to the signals your body was giving you, or it could be that you knew there was a risk, but you just couldn't stop yourself from trying. Or maybe it was just bad luck. Independently from what might be the reason, sustaining an injury means to have a strong and very relevant and special psychological reaction that actually determines whether you get back stronger than ever or you don't go back at all. So let's see the psychology of sustaining, treating, and rehabilitating a sport injury. Because the better we understand the process, the more we can control it to our gain. Firstly, we have to differentiate between micro trauma and macro trauma. In the case of macro trauma, which is an acute injury, the recognition of the injury is reflexive and is usually followed by the sensation of shock and vulnerability. For microtrauma, which is usually linked to overuse injuries, recognition is not so easy. It's often uncertain. For example, you might notice after training or during your training that you feel a bit of soreness in your elbow or in the forearm, but you are not sure whether that's a tendinopathy or just muscle soreness. A study that was carried out on marathon runners looked at the narrative surrounding microtrauma. And what they showed was that the first element that came out was self-diagnosis, which means that they didn't seek out for specialized help, and at the same time, not taking time off.
My finger completely from bending.
Did you have a hard time to get over it?
Actually ruined my climbing forever. So if you're going to be an idiot like me and just climb through a finger injury without a proper diagnosis, you're really risking this.
This is probably due to the sunk cost fallacy. We tend to invest money, time, effort in choices in which we already spent a lot of resources, even if those choices are not favorable. The more you worked on the project, the harder it will be to step back from it, even if that's what you would need the most to complete it. After the acute phase is passed, there will be the treatment phase. And taking time off from training will eventually raise thoughts of meaning, of relevance of the activity that you're doing. It is important to have a strong athletic identity to have a consistent drive for rehab. But at the same time, if your identity is solely and only linked to that activity, it is possible that the time spent on treatment and not the activity itself will completely lose its meaning. That's also why there are other interventions that are used. Primarily, social support is super reinforced. But at the same time, you can also use individual skills and training, such as attentional focus and healing imagery. And finally, there is the positivity. But positivity doesn't mean to have unrealistic expectation of the healing, but rather having confidence in your own ability of managing the consequences of the injury at an emotional level. Let's make the most extreme example. Climbing is everything for me and I had a terrible injury. I need to stay away from climbing for 1 year and there's no possibility of me getting back to the level I was. It is normal and functional to feel extreme desperation and grief. But at the same time, let's say positive reaction would be recognizing that my life is not completely losing its meaning because I'm not able to perform in my sport. It will be horrible, it will be terrible, but if the performance aspect of the activity is the only thing that matters in your life, there is a tremendous probability of a severe drop in mental health. For example, falling into major depression.
I mean, kind of depression.
Sport is much more than performance. Is challenge notwithstanding the level you're performing at? Is social support? Is learning? Is teaching? Is sharing? Is self-development? It could be starting a new activity or focusing more on relationships. I am not saying that it won't be extremely painful. I'm not saying that everything will be fine. But I'm saying that it's important not to follow into an eternal spiral of negative thinking.
Well, you didn't lose your sense of humor, which is, I think, adorable and the sign of the healthy state of mind. Did you have a hard time to get over it?
Yeah. Mentally to accept it was pretty hard. So I'm like, great. So when they're like, your finger will never be strong or the same again, I was like, cool. All right, how do I process that? And then I just learned to adapt.
Okay, on a more positive note, most injuries will not be as severe as the extreme example that I just gave. So you will be guided through rehab. Here, more positive thoughts and goal-directed focus will replace the anxiety and uncertainty which are typical of the previous phases. If you're noticing that you are catastrophizing or you're developing kinesiophobia, which is the fear of movement, I would highly suggest to put some effort into some skill training, like developing a SMART goal setting, or developing your mental toughness skills, or even using imagery exercises. Finally, we all know that the most important factor for a complete rehab and also to prevent re-injuring is to be consistent with your rehab program, with your physiotherapy. But this is extremely hard. It shows in research that people are not good at keeping their program when they feel that they are improving. Most of the time they will feel that they improved enough and will start increasing the load in a not controlled manner or just way too much. So when studies try to understand why and what are the factors that most sustain an adequate rehab, the results were social support and mental toughness. Mental toughness is coming out super often in this series, right? Well, I already made a video on mental toughness and what it is, giving some concrete examples with the help of Janja Gambit, let's say. But I will make a new video, especially on mental toughness training skills. So remember to subscribe to the channel, click whatever you need to click, because you do not want to miss a video. In the meantime, I'll see you in the next video and stay psyched.